In this video, I'm going to show you how you, with zero coding experience, can create a full web application in less than 5 minutes with this simple template. This template will give you a working application that will have database, storage, and authorization, meaning you can sign in as a user and other people can sign into your application. And then you can just add things on top of it by talking to Claude. And the first time you set this up, which we're going to go over the full setup in this video, this process will take 15 minutes. Every other time you do this, it will take 5 minutes to create a full application that will have many different pages, a database. You'll be able to upload posts and send a link to your friend so that they can sign into your application. We're using Claude to generate the code, and we're using Replit to run the code. And the template link is a Replit file, which is a collection of code files we've generated with Claude. And so we're going to be talking about how to set this up so that every single time you want to create an app, you can make the foundation to the app in about 5 minutes, because this so far has been the most time-consuming thing for me, actually getting the project off the ground and started. And so we're going to go over this process right here. And it is very simple. And it's going to start off with simply downloading the link, downloading all the files from your Replit, and pasting them into Claude. This will give Claude intimate knowledge of your Replit template that you can use every single time you want to create a new application. And then every single time, you're going to have to just set up a new Firebase project. And so this process may look like it'll take a while. It doesn't. This whole process takes about 4 minutes. And you just basically need to really pay attention to this step right here, which is to properly copy and paste your tokens into Replit. This will connect your Replit codebase with your Firebase storage, authentication, and database. And this basically connects everything together so that Claude can generate code for your code base in Replit so they can all communicate and everything can be stored properly. And we're going to go over this process in this video, and we're going to show you how far we get with only 5 prompts. And you're going to realize that you'll be able to create the application that you want. Anyway, let's dive into it. Let's go ahead and begin at the first step, which is open the template link. This will take you to this page right here, and we're just going to hit Use Template. We can just make it public, private, doesn't matter. And we're just going to hit Use Template. This is where we're going to be putting the code that Claude gives us. If it looks intimidating to you, if you've never been in a code base, don't worry. A month ago, I was scared shitless of this, but it gets easier. The next step, we use the templates. The first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to download the zip files. In order to download the zip files, you're going to go to your files, right? These are all of the files that make up your app. And we're going to hit download as a zip. This takes like 10 to 20 seconds to fully download. And then you're going to go to Claude. Once we get to Claude, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a project. We're going to come up to this top bar. We're going to hit Projects, and we're going to hit Create Projects, and we'll just call this the same thing. I recommend calling it the same thing you called your app just to keep everything organized. And that will stay consistent throughout the next steps as well. So voice note app, and we'll hit Create Project. Now what Claude can do is Claude can actually have project knowledge or files that you can upload. If you remember custom GPTs, it's very similar to that process. We're going to take that zip file that we downloaded earlier of our entire code base, and we are going to download them. What's cool about this process is you're going to be able to do this over and over and over again. You can use this project every single time. All you're going to need to do is use the template and then come to this project and create a new chat, and you can immediately start making a new app. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to create this video is I'm going to use this all the time. It's incredibly useful. So we're going to open this up. We basically need all of the files in here except for a few. So we want to make sure that we get, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we're going to want all of the ones in source, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All of them.
So all the ones in source, and for whatever reason, you can't upload folders. So if you select a folder and you try and upload it, it'll give you an error and you have to upload all of them again. So all of the ones in source and all of the subfiles, you're going to want, what other ones?
You can do the others. They're not that big, but you can do all those 4 at the bottom.
Okay, so all these 4 at the bottom, we just don't want any of the node modules, right?
No, none of those. Index, and then package.json, not the lock, the package.json, and the post CSS config.
So that's all of them, right?
Yeah, that's all of them. And yeah, we don't need anything from public, but if you guys make a project where you have images, you can upload those, but we don't need these.
Let's go ahead and drag them in. So you just drag all these files here, and they're going to load up. It should be like 5 to 10%. I guess it's a small project, so it's going to be 3%. And that's good. Now what you're going to do after you've done this is you're going to come to this whiteboard here, and you're going to copy these instructions, and we're just going to paste these into these custom instructions. And you're creating an app in React and TypeScript. We're using a Replit template that starts with these files. So the Claude project knows exactly where you're going to be starting your project every single time you want to create an app with this template, which is super useful. And so we're just going to save these instructions. And I believe we're going to add in the prompt. Now we're going to pause. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Firebase. So we're going to firebase.google.com, and you're going to create an account. It's free. You're going to go to console. And I guess, can you quickly explain why we're using Firebase?
Yeah, Firebase makes a lot of the hard parts about building an app really easy. So they handle stuff like authentication, storing data, storing files. So you don't really have to think about them or write too much code to do any of that stuff. So we'll just use Firebase to do all those things, like to log in users, to save their data, to save like images they upload or anything like that.
Let's go through this process, and this will allow you to set up a database, authentication, and storage. Database meaning all of just like the text data and the simple data. I don't know how to distinguish it from storage.
I guess storage would be files, like anything that needs to be a file, like images, audio
like
files.
If you can put it in an Excel spreadsheet, then it would be in the database. If you can't put it in Excel, then it would be in the storage. That's the way that I think about it.
Good,
create a project. Create a project. And what was the name of the project that I was using? Voice Note app?
Yeah, Voice Note
Something
app.
like that. Voice Note app template demo. And we're going to go like this. And we are not... You can always change this later. For now, I recommend taking the least amount of steps as possible. You do not need to enable Google Analytics. So we're going to go ahead and create this project. This will take a few minutes. So we've gone to Firebase, we went to console, we created a name for a project, and now we're here on this web icon step. Your Firebase project is ready. Let's go ahead and start this up. You're just going to press this web icon. Now we're going to call this Voice Note app, and we are going to register the app. This is going to generate these codes here. If you're creating an app for the first time, do not share these codes with anyone. We can actually open up a split window. So on Replit, there is this firebase.ts. I think you could probably do a better job explaining this, but I'm going to give it my best shot. In order to communicate with the database, the storage, and the authentication, your app needs to communicate with Firebase, the app that we're using. And so it uses these codes. And these codes are sensitive. And anytime you have any codes, and this could be an OpenAI API token, a Claude API token, any of these should not be shared with other people because they can just use them, and it could cost you a lot of money. It could ruin your project. A lot of bad things could happen. So the way that we can get around this is we can actually open up this secrets tab. In other code editors, it's a .env file, I believe, is how it's stored or something.
Yep.
Yes. And so here, I like this, that it's open by default. It doesn't make me edit them. Oh, it's because we're using a template for the first time. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to this voice note app template and I'm going to open in split view. And so we see here on the right, we have our API tokens. And on the left here, for the API key, we're just going to copy whatever's in the API key and we're going to paste it in right here, add secret. Now we're looking at the auth domain, and I think they should be in order, and we're just going to paste these in like so. Add secret. Okay,
Nice.
so we have completed that step. That is probably the most annoying step on Firebase. Once you've added those codes into Replit, what we are going to do is we're going to add 3 things right now. We're going to add a Firestore database, we're going to add authentication, and then we're going to add storage. Let's first start off in order of the diagram. We're going to start off with the Firestore database. This one is so easy. You literally open up Firestore database. All 3 of these, it's going to pop up at the top of the screen, create database, and now we're going to just hit next. Here, we're going to start in test mode. What does test mode mean?
Test mode just means anyone can write anything and read anything from your database. So that's why those keys are important. But
Yeah,
don't worry, when you're building
so
your
if you-
app, it's fine.
You just want to change it to production mode before you start selling it and making
Yeah,
it publicly
basically.
available. Yeah, so we're creating this database and we're done, I believe, on the database.
Yep, we're done.
Once we have it created. Okay, so now we have a database. Now we're going to go back to build and we're going to go to authentication. On authentication, we are going to wait for it to pop up at the top. We're going to hit get started. So you're going to start off with a default application and it's going to be just like a simple social media app and you will be able to sign in. It's going to be awesome. But like if you think about any time you've gone to use an app and you sign in, you need a way to like separate the different profiles, and a lot of the time you can just use your Google account. So that's what we're setting up right here. So we're setting up this Google account and we are going to just hit enable, and then you're going to add in your email. It's going to by default populate with whatever email you set this up with. So it's super easy. Then you're going to hit save. Okay, so now we have a database and authentication. We're good there. We could add other forms of sign-in, but for now, when I start out, just might as well just do Google. You can always add more later.
Yeah, you can actually add the domain right now if you just run the app on Replit. It should work.
Yeah, that's actually really useful. Actually, I think we should get there. Let's get there when we need it. The last thing we need to do is add storage. And so as I was saying earlier, if it's an image or a video, and as you'll see in a second, the template app that we have set up, you can upload images. So these get stored in your own folder. So every user has their own folder where their own files are uploaded. And so we can hit get started. Now we're going to hit start in test mode once again, and we're going to hit next. Done. And I believe that's it.
Yeah, that's all. Now we can just run the project. Let's go back to the diagram though. Let's see what the diagram says.
Okay, so far we went through the Firebase and we added those tokens to the secret folder. We created these 3 things. We created a database, authentication, and storage. Now, I believe that's it, right? We can run this. Boom. Let's go. Do you want to go over the difference between a web view, like in 30 seconds, difference between web view and deployed app for those who are new? I didn't get this when I was first starting.
So the web view is just your app running in the development version. So some things will be different, like the URLs will be really long. That's just how Replit does it. For those who you're running it on different platforms other than Replit, it might say localhost or something similar. But basically the difference is you can't share this with your friends because the moment you leave Replit, it'll stop running. But the deployed version will stay on Replit server or wherever else you put it forever until you remove it.
Yeah, so you have a dev domain, and when you deploy the app, you're giving it a website on the internet. That's how I understand it, at least.
Yeah.
And you actually have to tell Google Firebase, which stores all of our data, you actually have to tell them both of those. So we're running this, and it's running in the development. For me to sign in, right, I believe that if I were to try and hit this button, we're going to get an error. And it's
Yeah,
going
I'll
to
just
see,
yeah.
so it pops up here and we get an error. And I've ran into this so many times because I forgot that I needed to, all you need to do is you're going to need to come here and you're going to copy this code right here. And we are going to go to Firebase and we want to go to, this is going to be an authentication. You're going to go to settings and we're going to go to authorized domains and you're going to hit add a domain and we're going to hit add. Now, if we come back to this editor, I always rerun it every time I make a change to the front or back or database. Now, if we click sign in, it should allow me to sign in, which it did. And so I'll make this the main account. And if we can actually sign into this application in our web view. So we can go to the home feed. And once you sign in, it'll take you to this home feed. Super boring, because guess what? No one's using your app. What we can do is we can actually create the first post. Hi, my first post on the template. And then we can actually upload a good old image. And I'll just include a screenshot of this car here, and now we can post. And this is our first post. We have our first post on this template app. And remember, we're going to build on top of this. But I just want to show you, to make everything tangible, if you go to your storage, you can see your post, right? This is your user, and then this is the image that we posted. And we can see it in this storage database. And it is already set up. We have our application ready to go. We can see our profile. We can sign out and we can sign back in. Super easy. Once you have this fully set up, you literally have a working template that you can use at any given time. You can always use this template link to create a new project, and then your existing Claude project, as long as you don't change the files or the prompt that we set up, you can use that over and over again. You can set up a project in 5 minutes. All you have to do is open the template link, then go straight to Firebase because you've already created this right here. And then all you need to do is when you get those tokens, paste them into Replit, add the authentication link, and then once you have it fully set up, create that index and you have a fully working app that you can deploy in literally 5 minutes, which is incredibly cool. This used to take me multiple hours.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. You can literally go from an app idea to getting it fully deployed, shareable with your friends in less than 5 minutes, like Rally just showed you.
So now let's go to Claude, because remember, we can go to Claude at any time, and whatever you named your project, you can just keep going to this. So you can create an app in one chat, and then you can create a new app as long as you create a new template and then new Firebase storage and authentication. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say, I want to create an app that, and we can just say what our app does. And so we've been talking about what app we want to build. Ultimately, the app we want to build is a voice note application. This first iteration is just going to have text because in order to add voice, we're going to need to create a backend that accesses an API endpoint. And that's what we're talking about next week. And we're going to create a new template that makes that maybe another 5-minute process, but it'll allow you to use different AIs. So that's the ultimate goal here. Remember that. So this one is going to be a lot simpler. So what I want to have is I want to create an app that, let's say, one, allows me to create notes and add them to folders. I want to be able to change and edit the folders. Default folders for all users are, let's just say, ideas, tasks, and journal for now. And since we can change them, it doesn't matter. I was thinking about this, each of the folders should have a description because I think that's going to be useful later once we add the voice feature so that the AI can know what folder to put things in. Each post is by default private, but user can choose to make it public, and then we can change the settings. So let's say, I want to create a post that says, 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 I want to cre and go to the home feed. And these are going to be like, eventually I want the app to be like made for like when you go on a walk, you can record your voice notes and it will automatically organize them in folders, and you can actually make them like groups. So you can share your voice notes with the feed. And it's good practice to create something with a feed so you know how to make an app that's actually shareable. Make it sky and clouds vibe in terms of colors and aesthetic. Generate the full code. I think that'll be good. Good first start. And it already knows that we're using Replit because we've told it that in the system prompt or custom prompt, and it knows that it is literally adding to this template as if it's starting from a certain point, not starting from scratch, which is what I like, which makes the whole process so much easier. The beginning is absolutely the hardest part. We're literally just in copy paste mode. So now we have bottom bar. It's changing the bottom bar that we've created. Bottom bar. Add note component. So this is, and so you want to make sure that you look for update and create. So if it's create a new note, I just copy this right here. And if it says component, you know, and this will already be preloaded in your file, you'll know that it should go in the components folder. .tsx, we're just creating this new file, and then we're just going to add whatever it told us to put in. You could also download these and drag them in, but then you have to change the name. For whatever reason, the name doesn't stay consistent. I found that this is just easier. And it's good practice, in my opinion, to just like see the code and figure out where it goes. It's been helpful. So we also need a folders, and we are going to come to components, add file, paste the name in. We're going to copy the folders code that it gave us, and we're going to paste it in here. And again, you can do a double check so you can kind of see if it says export folders and it matches the name of the document. Claude's response was limited, which is perfectly fine. Keep going. Start folder view over and finish what you were doing. And yeah, get used to copying and pasting, I guess. I can't tell you how much I've been doing this, so you just got to get used to it. I just think it's so crazy that we can create stuff like this.
No, it's absolutely insane that you've never written a line of code, but you've created many apps. And we're going to create this one right now, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, and anyone can do it. It's not hard. The only skill I've had is setting up my life so that I have enough spare time to do this. And then updated profile. And we will see if this guy runs here. So I'm going to stop and rerun. Let's see if we get any errors on the run. We do. Okay.
Another index.
Nice. Okay. So we got a problem. If you look into the error, and when you use the web view, this is a good time. DevTools will give you certain errors. However, you can't, for whatever reason on Replit, it's hard to click on this. All you have to do is click New Tab, and then you're going to right-click and hit Inspect. And so this is, you said this is like the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. It just looks a little bit different. Replit just makes it a little bit easier. But as you can see, there's another place called console. The exact same error showing up.
Sign in with your account just by clicking that link. It sets up this. I used to think I had to do this manually, and so I ran into a lot of errors with this, and I wasted probably multiple hours on this. Now that I know you can open that up and just hit save, it's going to save a lot of time. As you can see here, like, look, this is a pretty cool interface right here. You like it? Let's see if it has any default folders. It doesn't. And that could actually be, okay, can we add a folder? This will be a good question. Test folder 1. Actually, since there's descriptions, I guess, like, let's just go tasks. Any Any note that has to do with completing something. Create folder. Okay, it created the folder here. And so we can create, this is your ideas, create folder. And so we can create multiple folders. I really like the formatting on this. And let's see if we can edit. Wow, we can edit them right away. Sometimes I've run into problems creating apps where you can't edit them, at least without telling Claude that you need to change something, but that looks good. Our profile looks good. We can see our folders. No notes in the folder. Okay, so let's create a new note here. Voice, app, idea. I want to turn this app into a voice app that automatically folders them. And so we can determine whether we want to make this public. For this one, I do want to try because that will make it pop up in the home feed. And so we can hit create note. And so we can, wait, let me see. Wow, okay. So,
Our first bug, but can we acknowledge how far it got with just one prompt? Yeah, no, it's insane. Like, it created folders, it created a folder page, and you can create notes, you can edit the folders. Like, those are like 5 features in just one prompt.
Done, like, literally every time you want to create an app, all you need to do is create a new template on Replit, and then just take the 3 to 5 minutes to create the Firebase, and you can begin. And then you literally, after one singular prompt in Claude, this is the app that we have. We can add a new note to any of the folders that we create, and we can very easily edit the folders, delete the folders. It's insane. And we have a clean profile. And it has this like tag button here, which I think is super clean.
The drop-down's working too, which is amazing. Like, on the create new note page.
Do homework. I guess there's no note page, right? Because there's note details. So that's one thing we should keep track of.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, there's no note page.
Okay, so we just need to tell Claude that. So the app looks great. I always like to tell it. I've noticed when you tell it that it did a good job on everything except what you want to change, it actually does better because it knows that it if you were talking to a human too, it'd be the same thing. Like, hey, great job on everything, but we need to change these small things. So 1, nothing is populating on the homepage. When I click on one of the notes on the profile page, it goes to nothing. There is no notes page. Anything else?
I think that's all. Those are the two bugs.
Okay, so GFC, make the necessary changes, generate the full code. And this should solve the issue. And once you get into this rhythm and you have the project set up, it's so much more satisfying to create apps than if you're just dealing with bugs in the setup. And so I think this is a really good way to start. Even though I know I'm probably missing out on some good learning about setting up libraries and like why I'm getting the errors, but I think it's just good to just build, and then if you really want to take it seriously, then kind of start digging into those types of things.
Absolutely. So many people just get stuck doing tutorials and like tutorial hell, and like right now someone can like take this template and literally build an app out in 5 minutes. Like we showed you, it's not that complicated. It's crazy. You can customize it the way that you want it.
So we need to update home. So now we're doing the same thing. We didn't even have a note view before, and we can just copy this, and we are going to go to components and hit add file. This is going to be called noteview.tsx. And now we're going to paste that code in here. And that should probably solve our problem. We're just go through all the steps. And now let's update the add note component. Let's make sure this is full code. Looks like it. And the project is a little bit smaller. Add note.tsx. There it is. Sign in. We got to update that. All right. So I think we should. Now let's go ahead and run this and open WebView. I'm still not seeing home, which is a continued problem, I believe. But let's see if we got some of the other stuff we asked for. So within folders, we should be able to click on these. We could last time. And now we can... Interesting. So one thing you can always check, you can just see if it's being recorded somewhere. Like you can, well, the note is clearly being recorded actually, because it's in our notes. So we know that they're being recorded in the database because we've refreshed the document. The issue is that we can't click on note. Very strange.
Let's try adding a new note because we did update the add note component.
Ah, okay. So this is a new note. Oh, okay. That was a really good point. And I think this is useful. It is communicating with Firebase and it's basically adding different fields to the data, right? And when we change the add note component, it changes the database. So it might not be compatible with the notes we've already created that didn't have those rules. Is that a kind of way of looking at it?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so now we're adding a new one to ideas, and then we'll try and make this note public, create note. Let's see if we get any errors. Okay, so we can click home. There we go. There our note is showing up right here on the home feed. And if we go to profile, we can see that this is a new note. We might be able to click on this. Okay, so we still have that error, note not found. But we did fix this problem on the home feed. We do now get all of these on the home feed.
That's good progress. We solved one problem.
One thing you can always do, you don't need to do this by any means, but I just want to make sure that if you're new to creating websites or web apps with Claude, you know that you can actually just copy and paste screenshots, and it can be very useful. This is the page I see when I click on a note, but the home page seems to be working well. Just fix the notes page based on whatever you think is wrong. I always think of Claude as a she, actually. I don't know why. Updated note view is right here. Okay. So we should just be able to click on this. Well, there we go.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, so wait. Let's do this. So let's just make a note here, and let's just kind of tag everything. So this is a note title. This is note content. We are typing, and I want to do like new lines just to see how it shows up anywhere else. So like, let's do a full line break. I am doing a line break to see what the formatting looks like. Yeah. And we'll go ideas, make this note public, create note. I think it'd be cool to have like a tally on each folder, like how many notes are in it or something, which is
that's a good idea.
Which is a pretty easy thing to do. And then like maybe even add pins. This actually looks cool, right? Let's really quickly go in and test this. So we can go to the add notes section, and we're gonna paste this in right here. And we're gonna just use this as a title. The beauty and importance of clouds. Okay, let's see how this shows up on the home feed. Okay, so it does get cut off, which is good. And if we click on this, like, look at how clean this is actually. And so I just think this looks so clean. So actually we're good, right? Do we have any, we fixed all the errors, right? Like,
Yeah, everything's working. It looks good.
okay. So let's count this real quick. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Claude prompts, what we created was this. And we wrote none of these lines of code, by the way. 0 of these lines of code were written by us. We used the template that we just created, and we created this app right here. And this isn't even the, let's like fully restart. Literally created a social media notes app in 4 prompts on Claude.
Yeah.
Because look, we can see all these home feed, and we didn't add what user posted them, which would probably be useful. But we can see the home feed, and so and it automatically created folders for us right here, so that when we create a note, test, new account, post, and then I'll just post the same, I'll post this same thing right here. We can add something to our journal, and we can make this note public. We can create this note, and if we go to the home feed, we haven't added which users posted this, but this is one user, this is our account, and these are the other accounts. So we have this home feed, we have all of our folders. Obviously we've only, if we go into ideas, we're not gonna see anything, right? We're only gonna see something in journal, and it stores our notes like this